Okay, so here on the back, it says here are the rotation coordinates for if you are rotating on a coordinate plane. So if you're going 90 degrees, 180, or 270, okay, and these are the rules for going counterclockwise. Sometimes you'll see this abbreviated as CCW, okay? All right, so our rule, so that we don't have to have patty paper every single time and trace it out and move it, is that if you have some coordinate XY that you rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, the coordinate becomes negative y x. All right? If you rotate 180 degrees counterclockwise, then your coordinate becomes negative x, negative y. Okay? And then if you go 270 degrees counterclockwise, then your point becomes y, negative x. So important to note, these were all if we were going counterclockwise, right? So what if they tell you to go clockwise? Well, going 90 degrees counterclockwise, right, would put me, if I started in this quadrant, would put me in this quadrant, right? What if I went from this quadrant clockwise 270 degrees? Where would that put me? How many rotations is 270? 3. 1, 2. So it would put me in the same spot as going counterclockwise 90. So this rule also works for clockwise 270. All right, for counterclockwise 180, does it matter which way you go if you're going 180? So that rule stays the same. This one was for counterclockwise 270, which should be the same as clockwise, how much? 90. All right, so these rules will work no matter which way they tell you to go. All right? Okay, so here we go on example 4. It says to find the image of these points. So I have a point at positive 3, 4. Oh, sorry, positive 3, negative 4. Misread that. As my point A. All right. And I'm being told that I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that would be my first rule, right? And that rule says I'm going to do what to my coordinate? What does that say up there? Yeah, what changes about the coordinate? It's negative yx. Okay, so your y was already negative, right? So if I put another negative in front of it, it becomes positive. And then I'm just supposed to move the x to the other spot. So there would be my a prime. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That would put it here. All right. Okay, for B, I'm currently at negative 2, 1. If I follow that same rule, where is that going to put me? If I follow the rule from up here for negative 2, 1. Good. And for C, if I'm at negative 3, negative 4, and I follow that rule, now I'm going to be at, there we go. Okay. All right, these say I'm going to go counterclockwise about the origin. Okay, so it did not say to translate on top of A, so I'm going to go back to my original points up here. Okay, so I'm looking at the original A, B, and C. A counterclockwise rotation or clockwise rotation of 180 says all I'm going to do for my rule is change their signs, right? So if it was positive 3, negative 4, now it's going to be negative 3, positive 4, right? Okay, what would my new point for B be? Good. And for C, 3, 4. Well, if you notice, back on this point, if we were to go 90 degrees counterclockwise, that would put me in this quadrant, right? So my rules up here do work. For this one, if I went from here to negative 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's my A prime from this point. 180 degrees would be 2 quadrants, so it does make sense. All right. Okay. Example 5 here says graph this line. So it starts at positive 3 and has a slope of negative 1. Okay. Find its image under a 90-degree clockwise rotation about the origin. Okay. So this is the original line here, the old line. Okay. All you would need to do is pick a few points that are on it and change them. All right. So for example, I know that currently this has the point 0, 3, right? That's where the y-intercept is. Okay. All right. So here, before we have to do the whole line, it says, think about this. A 90-degree rotation should form a what kind of angle? A right angle. Good. And what kind of lines form right angles? Perpendicular lines. Okay. So what do I know about the slopes of these lines then? If they're perpendicular? What is opposite reciprocal? So currently my slope is a negative or a negative 1, right? So if I'm looking for an opposite reciprocal slope, what would it be? Positive 1. So my new equation, my y prime equation, would have a slope of positive 1x. Okay? And if I go 90 degrees clockwise, remember that's the same as 270 counter. So it says this is going to be the change I make to my point. Well, if my point was 0, 3, it says I switch them and I change the sign of x, right? So my x is 0. So if I change its sign, it doesn't really change, right? It would just become the point 3, 0. All right. So I know that it has the point 3, 0 on it and a slope of positive 1. So I'm going to go graph it. And now that I graphed it, I can see the new y-intercept is at where's my new y-intercept? Negative 3. So there's my new equation. All right.